Hello and welcome back to Reality Check. I'm Ross Coulthart, and today we have something very, very interesting for you. I've got a good friend and colleague, Ronnie Vernay, who is a Brazilian-based electronics and computer engineer who's working towards his Masters of Science in Physics, but he's also a UAP researcher and founder of the UAP Brazil group, which is a group of Brazilian researchers working to investigate UAP cases in and around Brazil. And boy, has Ronnie got an amazing story to tell today, because he has been deep in the Amazonian jungle, way up the Amazon near the border with Peru in the north of Brazil. And he's been investigating some quite extraordinary phenomena. And I will apologize in advance, Ronnie, if I've got the pronunciation wrong. You've been on an expedition in a remote part of the Amazon researching phenomena with a tribe known as the Yawanawa Indigenous tribe in the Acre province of Brazil. And you've just returned in the last day or two from that community where you have witnessed extraordinary phenomena. Now, before I bring Ronnie in, I just want to set some background to what we're talking about here, because this part of South America is a real UAP hotspot. I'm hearing that from people in Washington, and I'm hearing that from Ronnie and his friends. And Ronnie's research was prompted by a long history of unexplained UAP incidents reported since at least the mid-1970s. In 1977, there were reported UAP incidents in Para and Maranhão states. I think that's in Brazil. There were multiple reports from several of the province's coastal cities. Hundreds of people reported being hit by light beams emitted from UAP, especially around the city of Colares. Now, the Brazilian Air Force conducted the so-called Operation Saucer, Operação Prato investigation, and officially no unusual phenomena was found. But is that true? Locals hit by the dangerous light beams dubbed them the chapa chapa, literally the sucker sucker. And when a public panic ensued, the mayor of the province sought help from the Brazilian Air Force. And my friend and colleague ufologist Jacques Vallée has reported that a number of individuals during these incidents were reportedly killed as a result of the light beams, and injuries suffered by locals were consistent with microwave burns. Now, I'm sorry for this elaborate preamble, but I think it's really important we all know why Ronnie was prompted to go where he went. So I'll just give you the full history. In 2013, there were several unidentified aerial phenomena that began to be observed flying over a village in the state of Acre on Brazil's northern border with Peru. And on the 24th of July 2014, one of these UAPs reportedly descended into the village and fired light beams at the indigenous people. This prompted a request for help from the Indians to the National Indigenous Foundation, which in turn prompted the federal police and the armed forces to do an investigation. And the events occurred until the end of 2014. 2015, an investigation was opened by the Federal Public Ministry due to a close encounter by the researcher and an anthropologist, Carolina Comanduli, with one of these phenomena. 2015, the incident stopped, but they started again in 2016, this time in the Campa and Isoladas do Invera indigenous tribe, when a light phenomenon descended and was fired at by a local armed with a shotgun. He then received a beam of light back at him and had to be hospitalized. So Ronnie came into this story at this stage. His first expedition into the area was in 2023, and his subsequent investigation led to the Brazilian government being forced to disclose video testimony, more than 20 minutes of video and 120 pages of official documents. And it essentially blew the whole Colares story wide open. So let's bring Ronnie in now. Ronnie, welcome to Reality Check. How was your trip, sir?
Hi, Ross. Hi, audience. Thanks for having me. It was very intense. the biggest experience in my life. Never passed something like that in my life. So I have a lot to talk with you today. I'm anxious to talk everything I saw there.
Okay, let's start with the sexiest bit first. Did you see anything anomalous, Roni?
Yes, a lot, and a lot of things that I never witnessed before in my life. And I witnessed in the past a lot of things weird, but at that place it was something completely different, in a completely frequency, in a different power of what I was witnessing.
What did you see?
Yes, at the first day, my routine. I will talk about my routine first. My routine was to wake up by 7 a.m., 6 a.m., take a breakfast with the Indigenous leadership, and go to the place where I was installing equipment. And I brought a lot of equipment to install to monitor UAP, to build a station there, and a lot of work because I was in a place that we had a lot of things that I did not predicted, because I was in the middle of nowhere with no specialized labor to help me, with no very good tools. So I had a lot of trouble to build this station, and I spent like 12 hours building it. So between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. I was working towards building, because I had only a few days there. And after that, at 7 p.m., I started my UFO observations, UAP observations inside the jungle, in a local where people were witnessing since beginning of May a lot of phenomena. In the first day, and I witnessed a lot of what we call poltergeist events. I did not saw luminous events, luminous UAP. I saw what we call poltergeist, strange sounds. For example, I was there in the middle of the silence, extreme silence, in the middle of the jungle, and I heard a noise of furniture, or a strong metallic bed being scratched in the ground, in a wood ground, very strong. It's a sound that was very clear. There is no way that could be other sound like that in the middle of the jungle. And I felt a feeling of fear, a feeling very strange fear in my heart. And immediately I talked with the Indigenous boys, and the one of the good points of the traveling is that every night an Indigenous boy approached me and said, "Brony, can I go with you? Can I go to observe with you?" It was very good interaction with them. They helped me a lot because they know the place. And immediately I rushed with them to the place to check if there was anything, any source that could explain that sound. And it's not possible. There's not any bad metallic bed there, any strong bed there, any furniture that could explain that sound you heard. And during the night, we heard again many strange sounds of people like walking in the grass, walking in the forest, things with different sound being scratched against the ground, being pushed, being pulled. And we heard it a lot of times during this first night. So that was my first contact with the strange phenomena there.
So did you see any physical movement, or was it all just noise at that stage?
All just noise, any physical movement, only noise, strange noise, very clear noise. It was like the noise was close to my ear, happening close to my ear. Very crazy thing. It's not something distant.
And so, just to be clear, just explain to our audience. I mean, you're not in a house or a built-up community here. You're in the Amazon jungle, in a remote village of indigenous people on the Amazon River. Is there anything that could possibly have generated that kind of noise in the community that you were in?
Yes, and these observations were not done in the village. It was done 20 minutes walking from the village, in the middle of the forest. So there was nothing that could explain near that type of sound. There are no people living there. There was no people there during the night. They don't go there at the night. So there was nothing to explain what we heard during this first night.
I have to say, you're a braver man than I, going into the jungle where there's known paranormal phenomena, Ronnie, and by yourself or with just one other person. That's quite extraordinary. You were obviously a bit jittered, a bit scared by it. But let's talk more about what else you saw and heard while you were there.
Yes. At the second day, I was suspecting that an abandoned house in that place, it was little abandoned with objects. It was dirty with objects left there, like people left there today, and the middle of the night left the house today and let everything the way that it was. So this house abandoned, I started to try to think about the hypothesis that some sound maybe could be generated there, maybe a furniture there, something like that. And I was there in the night and the next night with the boys, and all of us felt something that we never felt before. Me and also the two indigenous boys that was with me. It was like a feeling of extreme fear, extremely cold, and when you start to enter more and more deeper in this little house, we started to feel it more and more strong. So beside the sounds, this house had this feeling of fear of darkness, something I cannot even explain everything with my words. So this was the first act, the second act of my observations, this strange abandoned house there in this hotspot.
Okay, let's go on then. I'm fascinated to get the full description of all of the range of phenomena that you witnessed. Keep on going.
Yes. At the second night, and the same night where they entered the house, we started to observe the phenomena. In the previous day, during the day, I interviewed some indigenous, and I have a lot of material. I have like almost 20 interviews with separated indigenous in video, talking me what they witnessed, close encounters, unbelievable what they are talking on tape. And I get information.
So what are they describing? Give me have any of them seen objects or entities?
Most of time they're describing an orange or yellow sphere, a golden sphere, like a ball of fire that descends near the ground, near the houses. And most of time, these ball of fires are on top of their houses, on top of the roof of the houses, very low, like observing them, like staring at them. And when they even think to point, oh my God, this ball of fire is gone. Like it's like most of them say to me, it's like it was able to perceive what was thinking at the moment. Because when I was thinking to point, the ball of fire was gone. So this was the most common witness there.
Okay, here's the $1 million question, Ronnie. Did you see those anomalous orange yellowy balls?
Yes. The first observation was on a fair, not far, not too close, but a far orange blinking. It was blinking a very strong orange and a very strong yellow. It was going around, literally around all the village. So we observe like at 36 degrees, this object always in the level of the trees. It's important to say that it's not something that was far away in the space, far away in the air. These lights are at the maximum at the top of the tree level. It's the height that they fly there. So it was going around all the village, almost a 360 around the village, and entered inside the forest. And this was the first photo that I took with my equipment.
So what we're looking at here is a photograph of the object that you personally shot with your camera?
Yes, I was with at this night I was not with the station built yet. I was only with my camera and with my cell phone that was together with accessory that I plug my binoculars to give more zoom, to give more detail. So this was the equipment that I used.
So talk me through what we're seeing.
Yes, it was like a sphere, an orange sphere that the light was gone and again started to blink in strong yellow. And this becomes again, orange and yellow, orange, yellow. And this light going straight away, very low on the top tree level and going inside the forest. So this was the first observation of the UAP. And in these interviews, I asked people before I started observation, the first day, where these objects are most seen, where they are going, from where they are going, where they are coming, where they are going out. Can you explain the directions where this phenomena is more often seen? And almost all of them was certainly that was a specific direction. It was to the west direction from the village, looking at from the village, inside the village. And I started to investigate that direction, start to observe that direction. And these objects that I saw in the second night entered exactly in that direction where the people was telling me that the lights were going in and out.
So what size was this object and how high was it? And what was your emotional state? How did you feel? Did you feel the same terror or apprehension or dread that you'd felt in the house the previous night?
No, I did not feel that fear. I did not feel the same feeling during the poltergeist like events. I felt like apprehension in the sense of, oh, maybe this object could be in our direction. And sometimes it seems that it was going to our direction, but fortunately it's not come. And I stayed more calm and everything went okay.
Did any of the locals that you interviewed have experiences such as those that happened in 2014, 2015, where beams of light were projected at them by these objects?
Not in the sense that to hurt them, to have physiological effects, that what we are observing at that time. It was in the sense of this ball of fire or projecting light just to illuminate or something like that, to read them, I don't know. But not they do not feel like hurt or any physiological effects like these past events in Peru or in Brazil in the last years.
Now, I think we've all seen it. There's been these incredible videos. I don't know whether they're authentic or not, but they purport to be from villages in Peru, recorded very recently in the last year or so. And they showed extraordinary apparent beings, large, how does one say this? Humanoid entities walking around Peruvian villages shot on admittedly very bad quality mobile phone camera vision. Is any of the locals in the village that you were visiting, did any of those locals see anything coming like that? An entity, any kind of humanoid being, any kind of sentient, intelligent being?
No, any of the interviews that I conducted, almost 20, they did not tell me about humanoid forms, only luminous forms and even objects. There are people that saw something like a disc with luminous lights in the side and also a red light in the bottom of this disc. Another people called me about like a water reservoir or something cylindrical with lights in the sides also that was spinning. And
how large?
This case, sorry?
What size?
Yes, like 1 to 2 meters is the most common size that they were telling me, this object.
And you've obviously recorded these. Did you record them on video as well as still camera?
Yes, I recorded the testimonies, and after I installed the equipment, all the cameras, the zoom cameras and so on, I started to see in more detail this phenomena, to record this phenomena with zoom and with more quality than before in the second day. So the first contact with the luminous phenomena with me was that one is more far. I filmed it, as I said, with my binocular. that was together with my cell phone, a good cell phone. And in the third night, I was with the boys. There was 2 indigenous boys that were helping me, that I trained them to install the equipment. And we was late. There was a lot of things to do. It was like 6 to 7 p.m. And I said to them, we need to work more in the night to not delay all this, because I was afraid to not have enough time to complete. And we was installing the equipment. It was in the ladder, like 2 meters ladder in the height of the roof, on top of the roof with them. And we were looking to this roof, to the wall, to the camera, to the wall, was not paying attention to the environment behind us. And there was a family for us, because some nights some families came from the village to observe the phenomenon with us. And this night specifically, there was a family, and the woman of the family said, hey, there was a big light behind you. And we looked behind, and was that big, like 1 to 2 meters sphere in a red to orange color, that was literally less than 1 meter from the ground, and literally behind us, like at maximum 5 meters from us. Very, very
close. No noise?
No noise, zero noise. And was very luminous, but you could, something strange that was very luminous, intense bright, but you could stare to the light without hurt your eyes. It was crazy. And
did you get vision of it? Did you get pictures of it?
No, because we were installing the equipment. We was one holding the camera, one they're holding the ladder, and was in that activity. So with not time. But I'll tell you something crazy, that more crazy than trying to take pictures about this object. So I looked behind me. I was scared to death because it was very close. And we was with these boys in 2 meters on top of the roof. I was afraid to something fall down in my head and get hurt and so on. But the boys rapidly descended the ladder. Immediately, when we looked at this object, instantaneously, the object started to fly away from us. It's like, okay, I was observing, but I don't want you to observe me. And start away. I heard it very, very fast. I entered the house where we were installing the equipment. I get my drone. I put my drone, Ross. It's a new record. I put my drone in the air in 15 seconds because I wanted a lot to get the image about this phenomenon. I put in my DJI drone, flying in 15 seconds. And when I saw the object was static, not that close, but static in very low level, top 3 level. And I was successful in put my drone very close, like 1 meter from this object, and was seeing with my eyes the phenomenon and the drone. And my drone was, the object was here. My drone was like 2 meters, at maximum 2 meters to 5 meters high. So I was looking directly. Then I was looking the red light from the phenomenon, orange light of the red light. I was looking the green light from my drone. And I had complete vision. And I started to get the drone camera to look down, look up, look to the sides. And it was not possible to see this object. There was no way that could be possible that my drone was not filming this object, because I was seeing it with my eyes. It was very clear. The red light, the orange light was very strong. And it was impossible to me. The object was static, was not moving. And it was impossible to me to film this object with my drone.
You realize what you're describing there is one of the 5 observables. It was demonstrating stealth to sensor technology, wasn't it?
Yes. And the crazy thing is that, oh my God, I'm seeing this. And I asked the indigenous boy. And this time, the indigenous boy, they are like ninjas. They were like 5 meters inside the water reservoir, observing the object and telling me, Ronnie, go to the drone to the right, drone to the left. And they said, and they confirmed me. It was positioned right in the front of the object. The object, again, was static, was not moving, and it was impossible to me to film that. I tried many ways. I tried to circle around the object. It was not possible to film it.
So just so I'm clear on what we're going to be cutting into this video, Ronnie, you do have video or still imagery of the object before you put your drone up. Is that correct?
Not this night, because it was installing the equipment, but there's not time to film this specific object. What I tried to get the drone to get the close image, that was not possible.
And what does it show? Talk me through what you filmed.
Yes. So the first night, the next night, we started everything. I was hurrying because something interesting, that these objects have a time window to appear more frequent. It's like that a behavior they want to be seen, I don't know, but they have a very specific time that's between 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. This time window is when the objects come in and out the forest. And so I put all the cameras, the biggest cameras, the motorized cameras with zoom and the thermal cameras to the direction where this object was coming in and out. And I was hurrying to try to film in that day because I wanted everything okay, everything started in 6 p.m. to start to film at that night. And I was successful to do that. At that time, I did not have already the sensors because I started almost 10 sensors there. I had only the cameras. But I started with the boys to try to observe. At 6:30 p.m. we started observations, and my plan was, let's observe the phenomena, and I will run fast to the equipment to control the motorized camera, to put the zoom and try to manually track this object and get the best image possible. So exactly at 6:30, the first object came. This same object, blinking one, orange and yellow, top 3 level, going very slow, no noise. And I tried to, I run to the equipment. I tried to put the camera in the position, but I was not successful because the object immediately goes down inside the forest. And that's the behavior, common behavior. The object, every time he goes down and literally enter the trees in the forest, inside the forest. So passed like 30 minutes, came something very bizarre that I never witnessed before. It was what I could describe better. It was like aurora, aurora, the natural phenomenon. And this aurora was not green, was not red. It was like very white, very dense, like a luminous fog, as I could describe. It was forming like a 3D shape, in the shape of a hand, like this form. It was, I'm seeing the shape. It's like, imagine kidding. Like yes, imagine like
you're actually seeing a hand.
A hand, yes, a hand like this.
Wow.
Like pointing very that way. And imagine like the drone show that people do today, where they put a lot of drones in the air and the drones form a 3D shape, a figure shape. But imagine this, not with drones, imagine this with a fog, a luminous fog, not a simple fog, but a very bright luminous fog, forming, becoming denser, very close to us, like, don't know, like 1 mile at the maximum range. It was forming like a hand, like this, like maybe pointing this.
Did you get imagery of this, Ronnie?
Yes, immediately I ran into the equipment. I put the motorized camera toward this. I put the zoom to see if it's something behind that, but it was simply a fog, a luminous fog. And this is the equipment. We don't see in the equipment what I was seeing with my eyes, but you see a form like that, like this one that I'm saying. And
so you do see see the hand,
like not exactly like I'm describing, but you see the contours, but we don't see. If you get the image only of the camera and they give you Ross, what you're seeing here, you're not seeing a hand. I can be honest about it. You cannot see hand. But you can see some strange form and this strange fog moving. I put the zoom. It was not possible to see anything with the zoom, so I put the zoom out, and this fog started to move towards the forest, like going deep in the forest. And something impressive, I let two indigenous boys outside and say, observe everything, take notes. What are you seeing with your own eyes? And the boy said to me that when he was observing, he saw this phenomenon like pointing towards the forest. And it's crazy because the point that it was pointing, this virtual hand or something like that, it was and entered exactly where the phenomena goes in and out every night. So it was like pointing for us, maybe, interpretation. Okay, this, guys, is the point that I'm going in and out. And the boys, one of the boys tried to get the binocular to see it with more detail. And when he was putting in the eye, he was paralyzed, literally paralyzed. He could not move and started to scream, Ronnie, I'm paralyzed. I'm feeling inflated. My body's inflated. I cannot move. I only can talk. I cannot move my feet. I cannot move my legs. I was blocked, holding the binocular. And I was in a very complicated situation because I was operating the equipment to film this. And Indigenous boy was paralyzed. So I saved him or I filmed it. And I said for him, okay, if something more bad happens with you, if you feel bad beside the paralysis, please call me. I will get you. And they continued there filming. And he called the other boy that was in the top of the water reservoir observing. And the boy had to get his binocular from his hand because he was not able to give him. He got literally the binocular. He was like a statue this way with the hands without binocular. And after some seconds, after a minute, he started to again recover the movement, and he was completely shocked about it. He's very traumatized with this event. He was very afraid to go alone in the indigenous village at the night. He is very afraid to back to the center where they started the equipment, and when this happened, it's something that affected him very, very bad ways psychologically.
Let's talk about the best imagery that you gathered during your studies there, Ronnie. What do you think is the best image that you obtained of whatever this phenomenon is?
I have very good images. I think is the best images produced in Brazil in the last, don't know, since the Operation Saucer, I don't know, but it's very, very good image because you see with all details this orange light. And I captured 4 types of phenomena there. And I'll describe you in the video, in the camera. I describe you each one. The first one I captured after this cloud event that was pointing, this like hand pointing to the forest. A UAP rised at that specific point and started to move very slow, very slow. I run it again to the equipment. I put the zoom. I had the time to put the zoom, to put in the center of camera and track for many, many seconds this object. It was a very, very bright orange light that exploded, flashed. The orange light contracted. Instead, in the place of this orange light, we see a more smaller yellow to white light. This contracted, and we can see the objects. It's like 2 objects, like 2 spheres or 2 discs. I don't know. I can describe exactly. Because of the limits of the resolution of camera, but you can see the 2 objects moving together. And this cycle starts again, explodes this orange light.
What size is this disc object or this spherical object that you believe is at the heart of these orbs?
It's very difficult because of the distance, Ross, but I could give estimate maybe maximum 2 meters, not something big, because I have to put, it's closer, it's in the forest, on top of the forest, and I know where they enter, so it's a close distance. But
I
had
can I ask you this? Do you think the objects that you were looking at are solid? And the second part of my question is, do you think that the objects that you were looking at not only are solid, but are intelligently controlled?
Yes, this is a very difficult question, but when this orange and the yellow light disappears, you can see these two objects flying together. If they are solid, the material, I don't know, but you can see something that permits us to see that probably is something material that was emitting this light. Okay, and two, we don't know. I don't know if these are two are together or these two are separated. I have the impression that they are separated, and one goes in the front and the other one goes on the behind. And this is my feeling is straightened by the testimony of people that many times saw two spheres. One sphere was going like security, going in the front, and the other sphere was going behind, and the two objects was going together, and people saw these two spheres very, very close to them.
Give me your view, though. I'm interested. Do you think they were intelligently controlled? Were they responding to stimuli? Were they responding to the environment as an intelligent being or craft might respond?
Sure, I believe, because it's going in and out from the same place. They react to stimulus, what I'm thinking, when I'm pointing, when I'm talking about it, it evades. As I said, when we was installing the equipment, when you saw it, it was gone, it fly away. When I put the drone, it was not appearing. So I think there's something intelligent manipulating this kind of objects.
And can I ask you this? Do you believe, you've indicated this, but do you believe it was able to psychically be aware of what you were thinking and what the young boys with you were thinking?
Yes, was it was thinking all the time during the trip that this phenomena can know what we are thinking, what we are planning, and it's like it's appearing when it was showing for us, I'm in the control, you're not in the control. I will show you when I want, and I will show you in the form that I want you to see. You don't have control to get a drone and get closer to me to get more detail. No, the details will be given to you whenever I want.
So can I ask you this? Can you talk me through the equipment that you've taken to the Amazon village that you're located at, and give me a description of each device that you've installed there now? And I think you've got a setup now where it's broadcasting back to your laboratory in Rio by satellite. You've got a Starlink satellite connection now permanently broadcasting from that village. Talk me through the equipment that you've installed there.
Yeah, I brought to the Amazon. It's very difficult to bring that kind of equipment because I need to get, before people have idea, I get 5 hours by plane to the capital of the Acre province. I got 8 hours by car to get to the point where I need to get the boat, and I got almost 8 hours by boat to get to the village. So almost 24 hours of travel to get there and come back. And you can imagine to carry all this equipment during all this path is very difficult. But I brought everything was possible. I made my best. There were five cameras, all kinds that you can imagine, all sky cameras, high resolution cameras, motorized cameras. There was 2 antennas. In the gigahertz frequency, that is a frequency that we typically see this UAP emitting signal. One antenna, they are directional, so I can point and transmit and receive to that exact location. If I receive a signal, I know the signal is coming more strong in that exact location. And I can transmit to see, not only receive, but transmit to see if I will see some reaction of the phenomenon. And I have almost 10 sensors. I have thermal sensors, thermal camera, to see something that's not invisible light. I had a cosmic ray sensor. It's a sensor to measure nuclear radiation, ionizing radiation. I have infrasound sensor to see if it emits any noise below our threshold of hearing, to see if it gets some signature. I have this, as I said, this microwave and radio signals from the antennas. I have accelerometers, gyroscope, pressure, temperature, humidity, GPS. All these sensors are installed and collecting data each 10 seconds there where they are installed.
So can I ask you this, on any of those sensors, particularly things like the infrasound sensor, the thermal sensor, any of those other sensors that are capable of picking up things that we simple humans can't detect with our bodies, did you record any corroborative phenomena to demonstrate that there was data that corroborated what you'd seen with your eyes and what you picked up with your cameras?
Yes. To respond to that question, I will tell you something that I witnessed there, more poltergeist phenomena. At that same night, that night of the cloud, the boy paralyzed, the night that I filmed the object was crazy. And when this object and this cloud was there, it was not only the paralyzed boy. The cell phone started to block. The cell phone was not working. Boys started to try to film, and the cell phone simply was not working. The flashlights, the battery was drained, all the flashlights. The light was blinking, but fortunately I had no breaks there to maintain the energy for some seconds, but the light was varying. And everything that was happening at the same time during this UAP event. Unfortunately, at that night, I had not configured yet the sensors. I only finished to configure the sensors in almost the beginning of the next day. And I have a lot of data to analyze right now, but I have to analyze to confirm, to get the images that I got and get the sensor data to correlate and confirm, okay, I have sensor data also, not only the image, but it's something that I have to work to get all this bunch of data, all the sensors, and study them and do some statistical work to confirm, okay, I have this data. One thing I can confirm is that when these things were happening, the UAP, the flashlights, and so on, I was testing the microwave radio signal. And I was getting the 1.6 gigahertz signal at the same time I was getting the poltergeist phenomena with the UAP. But it was not recorded.
Well, now that's very, very interesting. Just to explain to our audience, one of the things that has been revealed by Travis Taylor and his colleagues at Skinwalker Ranch, which is the TV series that we interviewed Brandon Fugel about a few weeks ago, one of the phenomena is a signal that is emitted when anomalous phenomena is detected or seen. And that is a signal in the 1.6 gigahertz bandwidth. You're saying you've also detected the 1.6 gigahertz bandwidth in your studies in the Amazon.
Yes, I detected before in Rio. There's a hot spot where I live that I detected it before, and I detected there again. What I need to do is collect more data to confirm, to repeat this experiment and have the confirmation that, in fact, this is a good signature there in Amazon.
Have you, since you've returned, I understand your technology that you've installed on location is now broadcasting back to your office in Rio. Have you been receiving data since you returned?
Yes, I'm right now with the cameras. I'm right now with the sensor data. Everything is good. I'm receiving everything. I assessed it today, and I'm doing some observations. Yesterday, I was controlling the motorized camera here from Rio de Janeiro, filming a UAP in zoom, very clear, there in Amazon. It was a fantastic experience.
Wow.
And it's happening thanks to the Starlink connection that we have there.
Wow, this is exciting, Ronnie. I mean, we interviewed very recently on Reality Check Jim Segala, who was involved in a lot of the work at Skinwalker Ranch and around the Utah Uinta Basin. And he's developed a sensor system called MUPAS, which essentially has a lot of the technology that you've obviously got in your equipment. But it's fascinating to hear the same corroboration of these bandwidth signals in the 1.6 gigahertz range. What I love about the work that you're doing, and this is a theme we're going to try to develop more on Reality Check, is you're doing good science. I mean, you're not someone given to emotional outbursts. You're not, I suspect, you're a very dogmatic scientist. You're looking for data. Talk me through what was going through your mind as you're seeing and witnessing this anomalous phenomena. Are you questioning yourself? Is it possible, for example, that let me be a skeptic for a moment. Is it possible that this is confirmational bias? You've gone there, you're in a heightened emotional state. Let me be Carl Sagan or Neil deGrasse Tyson for a moment and say, oh, you were just emotional. You know, you were excited to see things and, you know, you've attributed anomalous qualities to things that are just prosaic. Maybe they were butterflies that were emitting images of luminosity in the forest. What would you say to that kind of skeptical response?
Yeah, since day one, I was scratching my head and saying, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. Let me search the poltergeist phenomena, the sounds. I went to all the village. I ran in the village searching for sources that could explain that. I could not find, and was mad about that because my mind could not fit with reality, but it's very strange. But the first light that I saw that I photographed with my cell phone also, I said, no, it's a drone, it's a plane, but it entered inside the forest and there are no planes in that area. And it's very difficult to have, honestly, it's very difficult to have planes in that area also. So, and when we all started the equipment, I saw the lights in front of me a few meters. It was not something explainable, had no noises. It was intense and I could fit with my eyes. So these events also corroborated by signals of radio frequency and poltergeist and lights blinking, all this crazy stuff. The boy paralyzed. It's a lot of craziness happening at the same time to not accept that this is happening.
So, Ronnie, the million-dollar question is, what the hell is it? What are we looking at here?
Yes, at the first times that happened, the indigenous leader ordered it to try to shut down this drone, and any people couldn't get close because it was very intelligent. It was when people are thinking to get approach, the object was going away. It was near the ground, and 1 second it was far. So it was not possible to bring it down, as indigenous leader said. And I oriented that. I said for him, okay, don't do this. Don't do this because it can hurt you. So right now they're trying contact. And they're preparing. The most compelling thing is that the indigenous leader is preparing the community because he thinks his interpretation of the indigenous leader is that they will have a contact very soon.
So tell me this, in Aboriginal society here in Australia, it's part of their oral history going back tens of thousands of years that there have been these orbs, these lights, very similar to what you're describing. It's quite fascinating to me that you're describing these orangey, red, white orb lights. Is it part of the oral history in these communities that this is something that's always been there, or is this relatively new?
The indigenous say that they believe that in their culture that we have the beings of the forest. And the great thing is that the direction that these lights are coming in and out, I asked the indigenous leader, what do you have here? You have a river, you have a water body, what do you have in the direction? Oh, this is the direction exactly of the Samauma. The Samauma is the sacred tree of the Amazon. In the indigenous culture, the Samauma is a portal where beings from the forest come in and out. And when he talked to me about that, I was shocked because I was never imagining an answer like that. That exactly pointing direction where the phenomena is going down, literally entering the forest. It is exactly direction where the Samauma is located.
Did you get a picture or imagery of the Samauma tree, the sacred tree that he was talking about?
Yes, I went there. It's prohibited to people to visit at night. They don't permit that because they say that could cause bad things for you, because their habit is bad and good spirits. So I asked him, oh, I want to go there and stay there at the night and wait for the phenomenon. He said, no, no way. I cannot permit it. It's prohibited in my culture. And they only can go there in the day. The children are forbidden to go there. It's a very, very strange place that the indigenous leaders say the only one that can do this job to go there and to see if the phenomena wants contacts there where they are descending is me, and I'll prepare my warriors, my family here in the indigenous tribe, prepare our spirit to go to this combat. Because if you go there with, he said to me, if you go there with your spirit weak, you have a lot of problems.
So they know of this tree, this sacred tree, being literally a portal.
Yes, but as I said, it's a portal, not in the things are not supposed to come in form of light or vehicles to our world. This is what they strange. It's not expected for the indigenous people to have things coming from the spiritual realm to our reality to appear.
You're doing my head in, Ronnie. This is extraordinary. I didn't expect this degree of detail from what you've done in just a few short days in your visit. Well, look, I congratulate you, Ronnie, on the work that you've done. It's quite extraordinary. What more can be done to try to verify the phenomena that you've gathered this data on? What do you propose doing now?
Yes. As I said, I recorded in 3 days. What's crazy is that the craziest night is the night that I put the equipment. So I interpreted that the phenomena wanted to be seen. And the phenomena appeared exactly where I was positioning the camera. It was crazy. And in one type of phenomena, I will send you this. You're the first one to have this footage beside the indigenous leadership. We have a footage where a UAP descended into the ground, came through the village, and again back in the ground, like 1 meter from the ground. And the impressive thing is the phenomena turned off one camera that was the camera that was able to see the phenomena more closer. So, and all the equipment is connected to the same recorder, to the same energy source. It was no way that one camera could be deactivated for that 1 minute, where the exactly minute where the object passed. So it was possible to observe with one camera, but not with the other.
So it wanted to be seen, but it didn't want to be seen too closely. It wants you to know it's there, but it doesn't want you to know too much about it. Is that your conclusion?
Yes, this image is very impressive. It's very close because the camera was pointed to the ground, the object passed below that. But the craziness is that there was another object that I think I filmed very far with the all-sky camera that I think was projecting this object in the ground. It was crazy. And this object below, I think, was more complex, like a vehicle, like a triangular vehicle. And there was a zoom camera pointed exactly that direction. And it was not possible there to be filmed that upper object because it was deactivated, this camera. So I think the phenomena wanted to be seen the time, they want to be seen in the way they want to be seen, not very close for some kind of objects. And I think it's a contact because it's escalating. It's appeared very far, lights visiting the houses. Now we have a cloud, a luminous cloud forming ahead. And now we have the boy paralyzed, poltergeist events, the luminous phenomena near the ground, and be able to be filming it. So I think these things are escalating like a preparation for us to not be shocked, because as indigenous leaders said for me, Ronnie, I think if it comes in real form, very close, we all would be shocked about it. So it seems like the phenomena is trying to adapt ourselves to more and more and more and more information. This is the perception that I have.
Well, one thing I'm very proud of, Ronnie, is we've been able to help you get some resources from the organisation I'm helping here in Australia, the Non-Human Intelligence Research Institute's been one of your major sponsors. And I have to say, hearing what you're describing, I know NewsNation would be very interested in getting me on the ground there if there was any way to do that. Can I come with you next time you go?
Sure, there are Brazilian scientists that are interested to go there. Maybe we'll have another round in September to visit the village. You are invited to go with me, go with us, and try to observe in close, in person there what I'm telling you.
Now, will you be putting all of your data up for peer review? I mean, obviously, one of the tests of good science is how willing you are to put your data into the public domain and allow it to be scrutinized and tested and verified and checked. As a scientist, are you prepared to expose yourself to the kind of scrutiny that peer review requires?
Yes, all the data, I'm collecting the data, all the data, I'm in contact with scientists here in Brazil and others that you help me to contact. And the plan is to publish everything, and as soon as published, to release all the data to other people, get the data and have all the interpretations. And this is how science is done, yes.
I'm inviting you to speculate, Roni, in conclusion. Let's speculate. What do you think we're dealing with here?
I think we are dealing with a very, very intelligent phenomena that is scary because it can maybe know what we are thinking. And I'm saying because of the interpretations, talking with the Indigenous and what I witnessed in myself. So it's a very, very powerful phenomena, not simply a technological thing that comes. I think it's had more scientific, okay, because of signals, but have also a spiritual interpretation. And this, I think, what's fantastic that we have in this mission, the scientists getting data, and we have the Indigenous interpreting that data, interpreting the phenomena with their beliefs, with their culture. And I think this merge with the Indigenous culture and science could get to a conclusion, or maybe know more about that. I don't think science alone or Indigenous alone could know what is this.
Well, Roni, I just want to congratulate you. I mean, when you told me you were going up into the deepest, darkest depths of the Amazon, I really didn't expect that you'd come back with such results so quickly. So I congratulate you. And I just want to say, for people out there who are skeptical, I can vouch for Roni. He's a credible, objective, intelligent, careful scientist. I don't think he's making this up. And what's interesting is he's recording with corroborative sensor systems data that can be measured, verified, and checked. I think if we're ever going to get closer to an answer on this mystery, this is the kind of work that needs to be done. At some stage, Roni, I'd love to get you back on Reality Check to talk more broadly about the Colares mystery, the history of Colares and the history of UAP sightings in Brazil. I know there is a very strong US intelligence community presence in Brazil and in Peru, and it's taking a very close interest in what you're looking at. They may deny it, but I know they're there. So, my friend, congratulations on the work that you've been doing. I really applaud it. And let's get you back on Reality Check, and let's see if we can get you back on the ground getting more data in the future.
Thank you very much, Ross. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your audience. Thanks for NewsNation. And I hope to see you again soon.
All the best. Thank you. Welcome to Reality Check. I'm Ross Coulthart on assignment in America for NewsNation. Today, I'm in Arizona, in a location I can't tell you about, but I can promise you it's going to be a good story. Now, back in November at the Seoul conference, I interviewed the former Undersecretary for Defence Intelligence, Christopher Mellon. And he told me why he's concerned about the unexplained incursions of unidentified objects into US airspace and why it's a threat to national security and public safety. So today, an opportunity for you to see the full interview, including pieces of the interview we weren't able to air last November because of time. I hope you enjoy it. I'd now like to welcome Christopher Mellon, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defence for Intelligence in both the Clinton and George W. Bush administrations. Welcome, Chris. Let's start off by maybe going into the fact that even during the shoot-down incidents, when the Alaska object was engaged with back in February, there were people from the Defence Department giving the media the very clear impression that there was something anomalous about the Alaska object in particular. There were references to it interfering with the sensors of the fighter jet aircraft, and there were also suggestions that it broke apart on the sea ice. That doesn't sound like a balloon, which is the only explanation that's been offered to date by the White House.
Yeah, it's a very curious incident. It is my understanding that the administration did inform Congress that that particular object interfered with the sensors on the aircraft sent to intercept it. I believe it was cylindrical in shape, unusual for a lighter than air object or balloon. I had also heard that what you've heard, that it sounded as though it was metallic or rigid and broke up on impact, that it didn't sort of deflate like a lighter than air object would deflate. It broke apart. So very curious, anomalous, and unexplained.
One of the things that we were told, and it was only, if you like, speculation that came from defence sources, was the suggestion that the object was manoeuvring in odd ways. Did you hear any suggestions that there was any unusual manoeuvres involving the object, that it was allegedly responding intelligently, trying to evade the fighter jets?
I did not. And one thing that is distinct about this case, in some instances, as you know, these mysterious objects move at extreme velocities and are highly maneuverable and do things that even our frontline aircraft are not capable of. That does not appear to have been the case here. They were able to engage it rather easily and bring it down. But it did interfere with the sensor systems, which is very odd. The location is one which is rather intriguing in the sense that the US and Russia and China, if they were to exchange ballistic missiles, they come over the pole, and that might be a place conceivably where an adversary would want to have some kind of a detection system or collection system or something that might try to interfere with some of our defenses or some of our systems. It's really a very strange case, and also hard to believe they didn't recover anything, but that's what they say.
Okay, I actually too questioned that there was no recovery. I mean, it's been quite clear from one of the locals who videoed what was going on the ground that at best, I think the White House has been misled about what the conditions were like up there in Alaska on the day, because what we've seen is video showing very clear skies and very, very thick sea ice. Apparently, one of the explanations was that the object, if it did fall, fell through the sea ice and disappeared into the ocean underneath. And a number of locals I've spoken to have told me that that's just not plausible because the ice was so thick at the time.
Yeah, let me back up and provide a little bit of context here. Reverse engineering, capture, exploitation of adversary weapon systems is something we do very well and have for a long time. And when US forces engaged Russian equipment in Iraq, for example, you saw the outcome. It was decisive in favor of the U.S. weapon systems, our tanks versus their tanks, et cetera. And a lot of that is because of how effectively the intelligence community is able to gather and collect information on systems operated by our adversaries. So we usually make pretty strong efforts to recover stuff when there's an opportunity. And I was a little surprised they seemed to give up so easily because of our history and the way we generally operate. So I don't have any clarity, unfortunately, on that. I've seen some video that suggested that there was bright sunlight and they should have had a good chance of recovery. Some people I know are skeptical, but you know, the intelligence community, when we do these things, we don't talk about them publicly either. So I wouldn't be hugely surprised if, in fact, we did get our hands on something.
Now, Chris, I want to take you to a very, very concerning issue. I've been told by multiple sources that there was an earlier incident, even before the Chinese balloon on the 4th of February that was shot down. Multiple sources have told me that there were 8 or 9 unidentified objects detected somewhere near the Arctic Circle out over the sea ice, and that fighter jets were deployed from NORAD to engage with those objects, and that they were seen to maneuver away, apparently at high speed. Have you heard those allegations? I've heard it now from 3 different people.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and from an individual who would have plausible reason to know. But this really speaks to a much larger issue, which is the lack of information from the Air Force about UAP generally. We have an immense and very sophisticated air defense system, air surveillance and space surveillance system. The reports that have come to Congress, the unclassified report that was supposed to identify all the UAP that the military had encountered between 2004 and 2021, contained 0 or at most a handful of U.S. Air Force incidents. There was almost nothing from the Air Force. It would be like getting a report on the foreign submarine threat from the Air Force and the Navy not commenting. Very strange. Since that time, to the best of my knowledge, NORAD has not been providing information on systems, objects detected by their space and air surveillance systems. It's mostly pilot reporting. Now, I'm not privy to all these reports. They've exploded in number. Perhaps they're starting to get that information now, but it was certainly missing initially. And it's difficult to assess, and it's difficult for Congress to assess how effective these systems are without that kind of data.
You told us that you were aware of the same incident that I've heard of, which is that on or around the 1st of February, 8 or 9 UAPs were detected over the Arctic Circle, and they were attempted to be engaged with by US fighters. And unfortunately, that was unsuccessful because they somehow maneuvered away at speed. I think the public should have been told that at the time that the White House was dealing with these extraordinary shoot-downs. This was an unprecedented event in NORAD history. We'd never engaged objects before using deadly force. Don't you think the public had a right to know? Shouldn't the White House have disclosed the fact that it was aware of these alleged earlier incidents involving UAPs?
Sometimes it's a difficult call. It depends whether releasing that information would compromise any unique clandestine capabilities we have that we might need to support our forces in combat. I don't think that would be the case here. To your larger point, clearly they are not releasing information which can and should be released which is unclassified. And I'll give you a very specific example and illustration of this. The videos in 2017 that I provided the New York Times and then the Washington Post were investigated, and the Air Force confirmed that they were truly unclassified and did not damage national security. In fact, they enhanced national security because they raised awareness of the vulnerability that we have and this activity that's going on that needs to be addressed. After that happened, the Defense Department created a classification guide for UAP that seems to have, that suddenly said, well, all of those same kinds of videos are now classified, and anything and everything having to do with UAP is classified. That is hard to understand or support. It sounds like it's in violation of the executive order on classification. Theoretically, you cannot classify information unless you make a determination that if it was revealed, it would cause serious damage to national security. I don't know how they could possibly say that with regard to those videos when several were previously released and approved for public release by the Defense Department. And we all saw them, and then it was confirmed that they didn't damage national security. They've got many more videos from precisely the same system, and they're not releasing it and claiming that it would damage national security. I don't believe that. I don't think they could prosecute anyone successfully who leaked that videos of that ilk. Certainly, there's a lot of other stuff that's legitimately classified, but there is a real gap here and a problem in terms of transparency. And I think, unfortunately, many people in the intelligence community, it's part of the culture to think that the less we share, the safer we are. When I was responsible for counterintelligence and security in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, I used to remind my staff, we didn't defeat the Soviet Union in the Cold War because we were better at keeping secrets. They were better at keeping secrets. We surpassed them because we were better at sharing information in the marketplace, with free markets, with pricing, with policymaking, in all kinds of ways. And we want to reserve classification for things that really, really are sensitive and need to be protected. But otherwise, it's really in our interest to get that information out. And I think they're making a mistake in this case.
I agree with you. I find it bewildering that they're not able to release any of the imagery from these fighter jet engagements with these objects, because frankly, you could drive a bus through the holes in the explanation that's been somewhat weakly offered by the White House that these kind of must be balloons, these three objects. I have a feeling that there's more to the Alaska object, and the fact that people were saying to defense media that this object was anomalous is a real concern. And we still don't have an explanation for the inconsistencies between what was being seen on the ground, the good weather, the clear terrain, and what was being said by the White House spokesperson to the assembled media. But one of the things also that I wanted to draw you on, Chris, is there's been precedents for the release of often quite sensitive defence video. For example, over the Crimea, there's been, over the ocean, US drones were interfered with by Russian jets that were committing quite appalling acts of interference with US military technology. And the Pentagon was very, very quick to release that imagery, albeit imagery that no doubt revealed the capabilities of those US drones. Isn't that a precedent that perhaps undermines the idea that's being pushed by the Pentagon that there's somehow something about these images from these shoot downs that can't be released?
Well, absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier, the famous videos of UAP that appeared in the New York Times and the Washington Post were a precedent. And it was determined after an investigation by the Air Force and FBI that there was no damage to national security. So there's a lot of precedent. And the larger point is, regardless of these balloons, there was a short episode there where, because of the Chinese balloon, the administration reacted very forcefully. There was pressure on them. Public was demanding action. In a short period of time, they shot down 3 objects. Well, for years and years and years, there have been all kinds of engagements with different objects and craft. For example, I interviewed a NORAD watch officer who described an incident in which a object came over the North Pole and down from the Arctic at a high rate of speed, and the U.S. tried to intercept it. The commander of NORAD said, quote, "I want that thing." They put everything on strip alert up in the air to try to intercept it, according to this Air Force officer, and were unable to get a radar lock, unable to catch it. It went all the way down the east coast of the United States and out over the Caribbean. And the officer actually shared that story publicly. So it's very credible. And we saw at the hearing the other day on Capitol Hill, some congressmen who had been contacted by an Air Force officer in their district regarding an engagement over the Gulf of Mexico with 4 unidentified objects in a diamond-shaped formation. Again, it interfered with the sensors on the fighter aircraft that was dispatched to engage it. And so the question is not, are they holding back a lot of information that they could be releasing? Absolutely they are. It's really a question of the extent of that information. And it's not just what they're not sharing with the public. It appears that there's a lot of information that is also not being shared with Congress. And that is much harder to justify because they have the clearances, they have the secure spaces, and they have a legitimate need to know.
Well, the good news, Christopher Mellon, is that Congress and you in particular are now pushing for very big answers. So I think we have to leave it there. We're short of time. But Chris, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
My pleasure, Ross. Always good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope I'll be seeing a lot more of you, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to ask some even tougher questions, not just about the UAP issue, but any other issue that you'd like to see investigated in future. Good to talk to you. See you again next time. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And please don't forget to click that red subscribe button to ensure you get more of NewsNation's unbiased and fact-driven news coverage.